So we're going to be answering some common firearms questions that we get from tons of customers in a series of videos. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can get some updates and support the channel. This helps us more than you know. We like to say when we hear customers ask, can I ask a stupid question? Of course you can. There is no such a thing as a stupid question, just people who don't ask the question and pretend that they know.
100%. Mm-hmm.
If you have any questions for us, please post them in the comments and we're going to be answering them as best as we can in a future video. So again, this is going to be a series that we're just starting, and so post whatever you want to ask. It can be a stupid question, it can be a more serious questions, but just ask whatever you want and we're going to try to answer them. So this customer comes to the gun counter saying to the salesperson that his gun is not working, and he hands the gun. The guy grabs a few magazines that he has in his possession and he starts unloading the magazine. Well, there is a 380, 9, and 4mm all in one magazine. So the guy behind the counter says, "What the heck is that?" And the customer says, "Well, bullets will be bullets, homie." So we are going to address some of those issues that I've seen personally. And some of those guys here, Braxton and Dan, have tons of experience with dumb questions. And we're about to answer some of them today and clarify and educate you guys over there on the other side of the camera. So let's start.
Yeah, so we got our first question, right? You want to go and we'll start with that one. And Nyada will give us that first question, and then Braxton and I will do our best to give you what we think is our answer.
So, and this is a question that I've heard multiple times. When the lower of your AR says multiple caliber, what does that mean? Does it mean that you can shoot multiple calibers through that gun? What does it mean, guys, when your lower says multiple caliber?
Yeah, so most of them just say, right, multi. Like when you see that, it'll say multi on it. That is specifically talking about the lower receiver. It's just a denotation that is required by manufacturers to put on the lower receiver. And then because a lower receiver can be made into a number of different calibers, we put multi on it. So that's kind of like the reason that you're seeing multi is simply because that you can build that firearm to multiple different calibers. That does not mean that the gun necessarily shoots multiple calibers, right? So in a general sense, it means it is only specifically talking about the lower receiver. It is not talking about the firearm itself at that point. What the best way to look or to know, if you can, you really want to look at the barrel. The barrel indicator or barrel marking on that is going to tell you specifically what caliber that you can shoot through that. And that's really what you want to look at, not that multi on there. So that doesn't, if you see it, don't start thinking, hey, I can just start loading whatever into a magazine and it's going to start shooting like we had that with the handgun story. That's not the case on that. So I don't know.
So you mean the lower is a standard? Is a standard lower?
Yeah. So like as a manufacturer, we build a lower. We don't know if it's going to be a 223, a 300 blackout, a 6 arc, what that's going to be chambered in at that point in time. So we put multi on there.
And you can build it into any of those things. So if you just bought a lower from us, you're going to build it. So we don't know. Mm-hmm. And then typically on the paperwork, it's going to be at that way as well. Once it's built into a rifle, then that's where the paperwork then gets filled out to the specific caliber that you actually had the rifle built into. So that's the point that you'd actually know the specific caliber.
All right, covered. So now we know that when it says multi-cal, it doesn't mean that you can shoot anything, any caliber through that. And I have tons of stories about that, but that's for another day. Well, that's another common question we hear all the time. People come to us and ask, how often do I clean my firearm?
I'll let Braxton take this one initially, since he normally gets to clean.
So for me, it depends on what the firearm is and what you're using that firearm for. Semi-autos, your ARs, your pistols, I generally clean after I'm done shooting them. Pull the bolt out, wipe the carbon out, punch the bore. Now, if it's like a competition gun, I am a firm believer that you don't necessarily clean the gun until it stops shooting well. Now, that doesn't mean you don't clean it. That means you punch the bore with an oil rag, something like that, just to get the loose fouling out, not scrubbing it with a brush to take all the fouling out of there and stuff like that. So it does depend on the firearm and what you're using it for.
What if it's your concealed carry gun?
Concealed carry gun, I'm cleaning it after every time I use it because I need to trust that firearm with my life and make sure it is going to function properly every time I use it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say it really depends too on you should really be inspecting your firearm.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You should be taking it apart, looking at it. Really what you're trying to do is and it depends how dirty the gun gets, and the ammunition that you shoot can really be dependent upon how frequently you need to clean that gun. So, if you're shooting a gun regularly and you use dirty ammunition and that doesn't mean cheap, and that doesn't mean cheap ammunition. That just means certain ammunition fouls up a gun more than another type of ammunition.
Or may say with a suppressor, suppressed gun?
Yeah, anytime that you change, any of those things can cause, particularly on a semi-auto or in a pistol, it pushes more gas back. So there's going to be more of a carbon buildup because not all that gas is getting expelled through the end of the rifle or through the end of the barrel, again, whether it's pistol or so forth. So I think you really want to look at it and it can be as simple as, a lot of times it's as simple as, hey, just wipe it down. Pull the bolt. If it's a semi-auto, pull the bolt out. Bolt action, pull the bolt out. Wipe the bolt down. Just clean it off, and then you always want to make sure that you lubricate before storing it for any length of time or any point. Just putting some oil on it. You really have to protect. If it's a stainless barrel, 100%. You want to make sure that it's oiled. Even though it's stainless, it can still get pit marks and all sorts of things inside the barrel. So you really want to make sure that the gun is lubricated.
And that's important for like you guys that are out there. Like maybe you pull your rifle out a couple times a year to go hunting with it. After you're done out there in the woods for a couple months, bring it home, oil the whole thing down. Even if you didn't shoot it, punch an oil rag down the bore, wipe it down, make sure you're not getting any rusting, pitting in that barrel, which could cause accuracy issues down the line.
All right.
100%.
Good, thank you. Another question. Moving on. So this is one I'm going to read to you guys. I'm looking to buy a muzzle brake for my 6.5 point Creedmoor. Will a 30 cal muzzle brake work on that rifle, and why?
Yeah, we get that one a lot. Yes, it will work.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a 30 cal brake, anything under 30 cal is going to work fine under that. It may not be as efficient as if it was caliber specific, but it will still work just fine.
And you really want to, so when we say 30 cal, so that's 0.3, what is it?
0.308.
308 is the actual diameter of that bullet, right? So if you're shooting a 308, it's going to be 0.308 inches. So typically that bore that muzzle brake has been somewhere, I mean, it can be as long as it's larger, you're typically safe, right? So as long as that bore through the muzzle brake is larger than the projectile going through it, right, you're safe. If the bore is smaller, then
that's where you're going to run into problems.
That's where you're going to run into some problems, right? So now we're going to have, even though, again, you could have, and this is where you want to be careful, there needs to be some tolerance, some clearance, right, exactly.
Absolutely.
In that. So even, like, if you were to measure a 30 cal brake, that does not mean that it's 0.308 inches in its bore. It's going to be 30, 40 thousandths minimum, probably. Yeah,
it's going to be
larger.
like 0.350 is somewhere in that range is what it's going to measure out to.
Okay.
So, and again, don't then take a 30, even if it measures 0.350, don't take a 338 and shoot it through that. That's not what the manufacturer has specified for. Again, they haven't allowed for enough clearance, so you don't want to shoot anything above whatever it is for. But below, you're typically fine on any of those things when we're talking about a muzzle brake.
So that, I guess, would apply for suppressors as well?
Suppressors are a little bit of a different story. And I would start by, you really want to ask questions at that point. So first question is going to be, what caliber are you shooting?
What caliber?
Right.
Yes.
So I want to know, what caliber are we shooting? Yes, you can have suppressors that work in multiple calibers, just like we just talked about with a brake. So anything smaller than whatever that bore diameter is should work. But we should know our starting point, at least. Okay, I want to shoot 300 blackout and 5.56 through this rifle, or not through this one particular, through the suppressor. And I have two different rifles that I want to move the suppressor back and forth between. okay, that's our starting point. That's our first question. We want to know what calibers do we plan on shooting through this, so that we know that we're getting a suppressor that will support the largest caliber that we plan on shooting through it.
Yeah.
The next thing you're going to want to know is, are we putting this on a pistol? Are we putting this on a semi-auto rifle? Are we putting this on a bolt-action rifle? There are different suppressors for different firearm types.
Yep.
Sometimes you can use them across multiple disciplines, but sometimes they are very specific to running a particular type of firearm. So you want to know, that would be the second question I would pose to a customer. What specifically, what is this suppressor going to go on to? What's it going to, because it doesn't have to necessarily live on it, but what are you planning on putting it on, the majority? One of the biggest things that then the question comes down to, what's the barrel length?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So barrel length is really going to have to deal with pressure, and that's where you typically would go to a various suppressors technical or specifications page, and they should be able to tell you if there are restrictions on barrel length, what they are. Right. So that's what they've tested up to. So if you're shooting a semi-auto rifle, it might say it's only good with up to a 12.5-inch length barrel. Right. So I want to shoot a 300 blackout. 12.5 inches is the shortest barrel that you can have and be safe running that suppressor. So I would always go and talk to or look at the specifications sheet of that specific suppressor to know that it will work specifically with what I'm trying to put through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that you'd want to know is, are you shooting subsonic or supersonic ammo? Typically doesn't matter all that much, but if you're trying to look for maybe the lowest decibel, right? That's potentially going to matter. On a different suppressors might handle those ammunitions differently. They'll typically, again, on the specification page, tell you what they've tested it with. Like, oh, we've tested it with 300 blackout, super and sub. We've tested it with 308. We've tested it, like, they'll tell you the various calibers that you typically can go through, and you want to make sure before putting that suppressor onto any specific firearm type that it is matched with what you have. For all those questions that we mentioned before, make sure that it checks off all those boxes. Yes, it says it can do this. Yes, it can say it does that. And yes, it'll work on this. So if you look through all those questions, verify with a manufacturer specification or talk to whatever gun shop you're at, wherever you're buying it from. Just make sure that it's going to clear what you're looking and what your intent is on using for that suppressor. So that's a big one for that. So
First thing to know is caliber, and then pistol or rifle, right?
Yep.
If you're shooting subsonic or supersonic, all right, let's move on.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, is the manufacturer specifications is really, that's what you always need to,
Barrel length.
once you kind of ask those questions and you know, okay, this is what it's going to go on, or this is the two different rifles that I want to shoot the suppressor with. Because nowadays there's so many different types. You have 3D printed suppressors, you have welded suppressors, you have ones that are
Baffles,
stackable, right? They're the stackable ones.
Yeah.
All of those have different pressure readings and specifications that you absolutely want to make sure that you've gotten the right one for that. So that's where I would really just make sure you got the right one, and before you go,
no one wants to destroy their $1,600 suppressor.
You go and you spend a lot of
firearm,
money.
right?
I mean, no matter what the suppressor. Now at least we don't have to worry about tax stamps right now. For our cost of the tax stamp right now, but. You don't want to destroy something, because if you put the wrong thing through it, I mean, it could be more than just even the suppressor. If you're putting too much pressure through a particular suppressor, and it's not rated for, not that too many people have the ability to shoot full auto, but there are suppressors that are rated for full auto.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And if you start running it too hot, even now that we have the FRT triggers, right? If you that would almost be what I would say is going to be. I would absolutely want a suppressor that is full auto rated at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to deal with heat. That's going to deal with pressure. That's going to deal with all those different things that we just talked about. You don't want to make that mistake, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to make that mistake.
Absolutely. So there is a lot to consider, guys. So moving on to the next question. Let's see.
That's all we got. That's all we got for today. We don't have any more questions. So that's why we need you all to give us questions in the comments section. and we will continue to produce these, and we'll all sit here and we can answer those questions for you guys. Yeah, that's kind of our goal of this, is just to sit down and once a week, hopefully, we can produce these and kind of go through the questions that we get through the comments. We obviously have our other videos that we show you some different things and so forth. And we'll try to do our best to answer those questions that we see in the comments. The ones that we get the most comments on or see that question recurring, that will kind of push it to what we answer in this segment. So that's kind of our
the
goal.
point is, you guys need to send us questions so we can be here and answer them. So ask away. Just put on the comments over there all kinds of questions you have. There is no such a thing as stupid question, and we'll answer them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. So just make sure you go and, like Naida said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That does help us out a tremendous amount. It helps us continue to produce all this video, all these contents and so forth, that I hope everyone is enjoying and getting to see, and then allows us to continue producing more and more videos for you guys. So I appreciate everything that we've gotten a tremendous response over the last few months of growing this channel. So it's been really great, and I appreciate everybody that's been supporting us as a company and and our channel has been absolutely phenomenal. So appreciate that from everybody that's out there.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.